Hello, community, and welcome back to another Keeping It Real with Dr. Anita podcast, where we talk about leadership, influence, and culture in ways that help you show up and stand out. And I'm thrilled to have back with us today in our community conversation Dr. Mayra Austin, founder and CEO of Management Cues, an organization that ties management training to neuroscience to prove its efficacy and help you realize real change in the workforce. Dr. Mayra, thank you so much for coming back. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just so good, so good.
Good. All right, we're going to continue to pull the thread on the topic of the month. And community, if you've been with me for a little while, you know that the month of September, I usually focus on the theme laboring for justice as a labor of love. And so that's why we're exploring this particular theme this month. Dismantling of DEI by our current administration is not based on laws that businesses are required to follow. And we would address that from the three perspectives of leadership, which was our last conversation. This next conversation is going to be inclusive influence. And our third and final conversation with Dr. Mayra will be culture. So, Dr. Mayra, take it away. When you think about the current administration and the laws that businesses are or not required to follow, last time you talked about making the distinction between the two. How do we tie inclusive leadership into this?
Yeah, I think this is one of probably the most important topics we're going to talk about, you and I think that, when you think of inclusive influence, it's really the power that the leader has to shape things in the workforce. And, I don't focus too much on the administration. I focus on my experience throughout my career and the love that I've gained for understanding people and understanding that when you're part of something, that's belonging, right? Mm-hmm. And so this inclusive influence is helping everybody belong. And it's moving away from these divisive construct of us versus them as a leader, and understanding that our influence holds so much power. This year I was able to teach organizational leadership and leading across boundaries, two of my favorite courses to teach, I have found out. And part of the reason is because leading across boundaries requires humility, requires, global understanding, really thinking outside the box. So in considering those key takeaways of what makes a successful global leader, and I encourage everybody to Google yourself, who's been a successful global leader and who hasn't. Form your own opinion, do your own research versus being told what it means, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that when you're looking at inclusive leadership, it's working because it's driving innovation. Mm-hmm. It's improving market reach. It's reducing cost and turnover. So those are the operational kind of financially tied metrics that I like to look at. And that's where, the foundation of my career has been operationally. But I think organizationally, it's that influence when it's happening, when your influence is inclusive, you don't even have to look at policy or protocol because it's felt.
Yes.
And the policy and protocol is there to simply reinforce, right? And so having that balance, it's like a symphony. And, something as disruptive as a misinterpretation won't take you down.
Dr. Mayra, you said some things. You saw my head down. I was taking notes. When you mentioned the word humility, it reminds me of an article that I drew upon when I taught a course on leadership and diversity. This was shortly before the pandemic. And I found an article that talked about the three humilities, moral, intellectual, and personal humility. And each one of those at different times comes into play for leaders who want to have inclusive influence. I also love how you said that we don't necessarily need to call out the word inclusion or diversity or equity or anything like that. If we just treat people as the valuable resources that they are in the workplace. And that brings me to something that I often say, regardless of the topic that I'm talking about, especially if they're hot button topics like this one, I'm very, very careful to make sure that I structure a message that can be received versus a message that I necessarily feel is right. Because I can be right all day long, but if the message isn't shaped in a way that people can receive it, let it sink in and turn over in their hearts and in their minds so that they can see the rightness of what I was trying to say, then there's no point in delivering the message. So Dr. Mayra, I want to thank you for everything that you've said today. And Community, your Dr. Anita's Post podcast prescription for today's message. Empower managers and leaders at every level with the language, tools, and mindset to champion inclusivity every day. So remember, your Dr. Anita's Post podcast prescription encourages you to start, stop, do more of, or do less of something that will advance the message that Dr. Mayra just gave us today. And your post podcast prescription is do empower managers and leaders at every level with the language, tools, and mindset to champion inclusivity across the organization. Dr. Mayra, I can't wait to have you back for our final conversation around culture. In the meantime, community, remember that ours is a learning community, and I want to know what you think. So please get in the flow with me, follow, like, overshare, and post your thoughts to any podcast that you want to send out to your community. Until next time, this is Dr. Anita reminding you to stay blessed and keep it real.